She dreamt of that night again, the memory as vivid as if it had happened just yesterday. She dreamed of this man countless times, the way his warm hands had enveloped hers, how his beautiful eyes seemed to hold secrets she could never quite grasp, and his breath, soft and close, had sent shivers down her spine. That man still makes her heart pound. The dream faded into the morning light, but her heart still raced with the echoes of that moment. "Mommy, you're going to be late," came the urgent voice of her son, his small hands tugging at her blanket. His voice was firm, filled with a sense of responsibility far beyond his ears. Sitting up, she rubbed her eyes, greeted by the sight of her son. Remembering her client meeting, she quickly ran toward the bathroom. Later, as they sat for breakfast, her son looked at her with a critical eye. Her tightly knotted bun, black-framed glasses, and loosely fitted clothes made her look like an old-fashioned woman. "Lousy," he muttered, summing up her appearance in a single word. "No mom is lousy in her son's eyes," she replied with a playful smile. "But why are you wearing glasses? You're not even short-sighted. And how are you going to find a boyfriend if you don't dress up?" he complained. "Well," she said with a laugh, "if I don't find anyone, you can take care of me, right?" His face turned pale at the thought. Though he was far too young for such responsibility, he nodded reluctantly. "Fine, I'll take care of you. But let me take tomorrow off, just make an excuse, like Grandpa died." "Didn't we use that excuse last time?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Then tell them my grandpa on my father's side died," he replied seriously. "And why do you want to take off?" she questioned. "Nothing, that event is just so boring," he answered casually. She looked at him with concern. She knew the real reason. He didn't want anyone to notice he didn't have a father. At just 5 years old, he was so independent, so much like that man. Later, she arrived at Dynasty Hotel where she worked and noticed how crowded it was. Model Nana was expected to visit, and the place was buzzing with activity. "Director gone, what should we do? The situation is getting out of control," someone called out to her. "Open the emergency exit of the parking lot and have them enter from there," she ordered. As they worked to manage the chaos, another man approached. "Director, the cars are arriving." "It's too soon," she thought, frowning, almost an hour ahead of schedule. When the car approached, bodyguards surrounded it in perfect formation. She bowed and greeted. "Welcome to our hotel, Miss Nana." But before she could finish, the car door opened and a tall, handsome man stepped out, styled impeccably in a business suit. Her eyes widened in shock as she froze. Even after 6 years, she could never forget that face. It was him, the father of her child. He stood in front of her and asked, "And you are?" She tried to calm herself, silently praying, "Please don't recognize me." The man stared at her for a moment and then asked, "Are you Manager Lu?" Feeling relieved? She quickly regained her composure and replied with a polite smile. "Welcome to Hotel Dynasty. I am Gon Yuan, the director of the housekeeping department. Please come this way." He glanced at her, then walked past. As he did, his familiar scent lingered, sending her heart into a frenzy. He still smells the same, she thought. He asked for Manager Lu, so he must be her client. But where is she? As she watched his figure disappear, 2 staff members arrived to welcome him. One of them introduced the woman next to him as Manager Lu, who was responsible for serving him during his stay. Manager Lu apologized for not being there when he arrived and began rambling about the hotel's various facilities. But the man walked past her, completely ignoring her chatter. "Let me know if you need anything," Manager Lu added, rushing after him. Meanwhile, Gon Yuan prepared to leave, ready to hand over this demanding client to Manager Lu. But just as she turned, the man glanced in her direction and ordered, "I need her to serve me." She froze, stunned, and glanced back at him. "What?" she murmured, unsure if she had heard him correctly. Miss Lu looked at her with a mix of confusion and disdain. The other manager stepped in and said, "No worries, every person here is capable of giving the best service," then called out to Gon Yuan. She replied with an awkward smile, "Yes? From now on, you are in charge of Mr. Huangfu's every affair at this hotel," he ordered. She awkwardly smiled and replied, "Sure," then stole a glance at the man. Did he recognize me? Is that why he wants me to serve him? She thought suspiciously. The man was also staring at her, and when she noticed, she swiftly looked away. Turning to Miss Liu, she said, "Well, Manager Liu, in this case, you will now be responsible for receiving Miss Nana." She handed the room card to her and added politely, "Thank you for your efforts." Then, addressing the guest, she said, "This way, Mr. Huangfu," and led him away. As they stood in the elevator, an uncomfortable silence filled the air. She couldn't help but think, though it's been 6 years, he still looks the same, just as handsome as ever. But it seems like he didn't recognize me. How can I blame him? It was just a one-night stand, why would he remember me? When they reached their destination, he stepped out. Standing behind him, she said, "Mr. Huangfu, if you don't need anything else then." Before she could finish, he turned around and said, "Yes, I do, but—" He paused, taking off his sunglasses. She kept her polite smile and asked, "Yes, please. I need you to be available any time for me," he ordered. She nodded with a smile. "Okay, no problem," she replied and handed him a business card. "You can reach me on this at any time," she added. As she left, she hurried back to the elevator. Letting out a sigh, she thought, "Thank God at last, he really didn't recognize me." She ordered more security for him. "As clearly as I remember, he's not a normal man. Wang Fuzhou is the prince of the nation, a real bigwig," she thought to herself. Lost in her thoughts, her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the time and realized it was almost time for classes to end. Quickly, she rushed out to pick up her son. At school, the young boy and his teacher stood outside. Seeing the teacher's serious expression, Yuan wondered if Tang had done something wrong. "I heard that his grandpa passed away." "I'm really sorry," the teacher said. "All right, I forgot about that," Yuan thought quickly and replied. "Well, we didn't expect to suffer such an unfortunate incident, but thank you." Later, as they sat in the car, Yuan questioned, "So next time are you going to say that your father died? But isn't he already dead?" Tang replied with a serious face. "Right," Yuan said, remembering that she had lied to him about his father being dead to avoid unnecessary questions. "Mom, a model company came to school today, and they said I was suitable for being their child model," Tang said excitedly. "So my handsome son is going to share the burden with me now?" Yuan teased jokingly. "Well, yeah, I said yes to them," he declared proudly. "I was just joking. You don't need to do this, and you hate facing the camera, remember," she reminded him. "But if I get chosen, they'll pay me a lot. And with that money, we can buy a home. Then we won't have to move houses again and again," Tang said, his innocence shining through. "You don't need to worry about that. I'll find a way," Yuan assured him. "But I'm going to the audition tomorrow," he said with a smile. "All right, tell me what you want to eat." "I'll take you," she asked, changing the topic. "I want steak at your hotel," Tang replied. "We can't go there." That man is still there, Yuan thought. "Why don't we go to an Italian restaurant nearby?" she suggested, hoping to change his mind. "Why don't you want to take me to your hotel?" he asked with puppy eyes. No, let's go to the hotel," she said, giving in and thinking, "This boy is sometimes too smart to be fooled. Anyway, the hotel is so big, we probably won't run into him." At the hotel, as Tang washed his hands, a drunk man stumbled into the restroom. Trying to avoid him, Tang moved aside, but accidentally stumbled, nearly falling. Before he hit the ground, someone caught him and pushed the drunk man aside. "Are you okay?" the man asked. "Yes, thank you, uncle," Tang replied, glancing up at him. The man noticed the boy's beautiful eyes. "Okay then, I'll leave now." "Bye, uncle," Tang said, waving. The man watched him leave thinking, the kid is good-looking and smart, perfect to be a model. His eyes, they're the same as mine. Something struck him and he glanced back, but the boy had already left. Another man approached him. "Mr. Huangfu, the guests are here." "Okay, I'll be there," Huang Fuju replied. On the other side, Yuan and Tang were sitting in the restaurant with Chow, the hotel's head chef and Yuan's good friend. Chow offered a new dish for Yuan to taste. "I'll taste it, but I'll pay for it. And if you keep treating us to free dishes, we won't come here next time," Yuan warned with a smile. Chow agreed and went back to the kitchen. Tang, watching the entire scene, suddenly said, "Mom, if you want to date Uncle Chow, I won't stop you." "What do you mean?" Yuan asked awkwardly. "Well, height, looks, and personality, he's perfect. And he cooks too, so we won't need takeout anymore if you date him. Tang said, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. Son, do you want to find a boyfriend for me or a cook for yourself? Yuan teased. Then with a more serious tone, she asked, do you want Uncle Chow to be your father? Tang thought for a moment, as if the idea had never crossed his mind. Then making a cross gesture with his fingers, he replied, no, definitely not. Then don't make random suggestions, Yuan said with a laugh. And let's go swimming after I finish my work. Okay, she added. At the swimming pool, Yuan let Tang swim while she went to the gym, assuring him to a friendly man she knew. Tang, wearing his swimming goggles, jumped into the pool. 20 minutes later, as Yuan was working out, someone shouted, Director Yuan, please come. Manager Lu and Tang are having a quarrel. At the poolside, Manager Lu was yelling, you're the only one here, so how is it possible it's not you? You disturbed me for this, Tang said with his arms crossed. Anger flared within Manager Lu, and she raised her hand to slap him. But before she could, Yuan grabbed her hand. What are you doing to my son? Yuan asked coldly. Your son is a thief. I'm only asking him to return my stuff, Manager Lu accused. My son never steals. You need evidence before calling someone a thief. Do you have any? Yuan asked firmly. There was only me and him here. My phone is missing from my bag. Who else could take it? Manager Lu said, pointing at Tang. Yuan ordered the other staff member to check the camera footage, but he informed them that the cameras were off during that time. With an attitude, Manager Lu said, all right, give me my phone back and I'll pretend this never happened. Annoyed, Yuan snapped, are you deaf? My son already said he didn't take it. Okay, then let's call the police, Manager Lu shouted. Just as she finished, someone called out. Manager Lu, I was looking for you. A staff member approached with a phone in her hand. This is your phone, right? She asked. Manager Lu, stunned, picked up the phone and asked, how did you know it was mine? I recognize the wallpaper, the staff member replied. How stupid! Tang muttered under his breath. Didn't your mom teach you some manners? Manager Lu yelled. Yuan kicked her, and with a splash, Manager Lu fell into the pool. So Tang, here's your lesson. We don't attack others unless provoked. But when we are, tit for tat is fair play, Yuan advised her son. But Mom, what if she comes back because you upset her? Tang asked. Don't worry son, your mom is strong, she replied confidently. The next morning Yuan stood outside the office and heard Manager Lu crying loudly. Entering the room, she saw Manager Lu complaining to the manager, tears streaming down her face. Look at the bruises on my hand. It's all because she pushed me into the pool and bullied me, Manager Lu accused. The manager turned to Yuan. Did you do this? He asked. Yes, Yuan replied firmly. Manager Lu stood up angrily, but before anyone could say anything, Yuan's phone rang. Seeing it was a call from that demanding client, she picked up. After ending the call, she addressed the manager. He's asking for me to come. Go ahead. Your clients are a top priority, and he's a key client, the manager said. Before leaving, Yuan turned to Manager Lu and said, next time, make sure not to fall by tripping over high heels. Then she left. Arriving at the client's floor, Yuan opened the door and froze. Those mesmerizing blue eyes that made her heart flutter were staring back at her. The man stood there, his sharp features as striking as she remembered. Collecting herself, she said politely, Mr. Huangfu, is there anything I can do for you? Huang Fuju glanced at her before signaling to his secretary, who handed her a set of documents. We want to have a conference on the hotel's rooftop. Also, Mr. Huangfu will extend his stay for 10 more days. Could you arrange that? The secretary said. What, 10 more days? Are you kidding me? She thought. Forcing a smile, she replied, I'm sorry, but the rooftop is already booked. I'll pay for the damages. Please negotiate with the guest, Huangfu replied firmly. Okay, I'll try my best, she said, thinking he never compromises and is just as stubborn as Tang. As she walked toward the elevator, she noticed Zhu approaching with his subordinates. They entered the elevator together. Which floor? She asked. First, he replied casually. Standing silently, Yuan thought, Why is he staying longer? Is it for work or some other reason? Zhu also observed her quietly, thinking, this woman always seems to hide something, like a little fox, and her eyes. His eyes widened slightly with realization. She resembles someone I once knew. Have you been working here long? He asked. Nearly 2 years, she replied with an awkward smile. Where were you before this? He asked again. Why does it feel like he's checking on me? She thought. Just in some small hotels, she replied shortly. As the elevator stopped and more people entered with luggage, their fingers accidentally brushed. Startled, Yuan quickly pulled her hand back. Zhu noticed but said nothing, watching her reaction. Does she dislike me? He wondered. When the elevator opened again, Yuan stepped out quickly, pushing past the others. Watching her retreating figure, Zhu stood still, lost in thought. Meanwhile, Yuan's face flushed red. Annoyed with herself, she thought, it was just a slight touch. Why am I feeling shy about it? In the audition room, Tang sat confidently in his well-fitted suit, looking dashing as he tried different poses for the shoot. Zhu entered the room and his eyes widened as he noticed the child. This is the boy I was talking about. Do you like him? The man beside him asked. Yes, Zhu replied, glancing at Tang. Filled with excitement, the man called out, call the kid's parents here. They didn't come with me, Tang replied casually. The boy continued, I'm the one who will discuss the contract with you. If you agree to my conditions, I'll sign. His maturity and confidence left everyone surprised. Inside the office, Zhu and Tang sat across from each other, both striking similar poses, as if the child was a carbon copy of the man. What do you want? Zhu asked. I need an advance payment for 2 years, Tang replied firmly. The room fell silent in shock. How is this young kid so experienced in negotiating business? Someone mumbled. Are you desperately in need of money? Zhu asked with a faint smile. No, I need to buy a house. Moving again and again is troublesome, and I don't want my mom to worry about it anymore, Tang said with innocent eyes. Is he from a single-parent family? Zhu wondered. And why do you think I'll agree? He asked. Tang answered confidently. Because firstly, I find myself the most suitable for your shoots. Secondly, you require someone for shoots in different countries, and I'm fine with that. Thirdly, you're the boss, and since you're here personally discussing the contract with me, you must be interested in me. The corner of Zhu's lips lifted slightly, impressed by the boy's reasoning. After a moment, he said, Okay, I agree to your conditions. Let's sign the contract. Tang stood up and extended his hand. Nice working with you, he said. Zhu shook his hand and asked, What's your name? It's Gone Tang, the boy replied. The meaning of the boy's name reminded Zhu of her. What's your name? Tang asked in return. Standing up, Zhu ruffled the boy's hair and replied, My name is Huangfu Zhu. Tang tilted his head, thinking. Except for one night when the moon is full, every other night it's Zhu, right? It means incomplete moon, doesn't it? The boy explained. Zhu was shocked. How does such a young kid know the meaning of my name? He wondered. The man beside them smiled and said, You two are so much alike. If I hadn't known earlier, I might have thought you were father and son. Both Zhu and Tang glanced at each other, noticing their similarities. Soon Tang's watch beeped and he answered a call. Hello, Mom, he said. How's your audition going? Can we now get a house? Yuan asked jokingly on the other end. Is that Director Gon's voice? Is he her son? Zhu thought. Yes, Mom. Can you come here to sign the contract? Tang asked. I have some work assigned by a nuisance. Could you come to the hotel instead? She replied. Hearing her words, anger flared in Zhu. Is she referring to me as a nuisance? He thought. Okay, see you there, Tang said, ending the call. Turning to the man, he asked. Mr. Chairman, can we go to the hotel where my mom works to sign the contract? Zhu agreed and gestured to his assistant to take Tang away. Once they left, Zhu called Yuan. Yuan picked up the call sounding annoyed. Mr. Huangfu, how can I help you? Director Gon, you have a son, right? Zhu asked directly. The sudden question shocked her.